again, YouTube. This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm here with Scribblenauts Unlimited, the object editor commentaries. Of course, this is where I create gaming, movie, TV show type characters. I basically create based on your suggestions, the audience suggestions. Every single week, I'll just create whatever is most popular or most requested by the most amount of different people. We'll start off with a monitor for today's source object and put down an amber first off and move that sort of down here for the bottom, because today we're creating something insane. I mean, this has been asked for a while too. But we are going to be creating Omega Flowey or Photoshop Flowey, whatever your kind of preferred nomenclature is for that character. Of course, from Undertale. And so this is crazy. We've got a smile now. We did paint the screen of the monitor all white, so be sure that you did notice that, like a bleach white color, the whitest of white that you can get. I mean, like Donald Trump supporter white. But anyway, then on the smile on either side, there is an eyebrow. Just paint that all black and put it on either side of the smile for these little like cheeks almost in the smile, and a bubble twice is going to be for the eyes right there, and a tornado. We took this really, like, I guess long thin piece of the tornado down there at the bottom, and then another bottom kind of middle piece of the tornado for the other side. These are going to be the crazy little like cracks, I guess, in the pixely Photoshop Flowey face. Now there are a lot of different heads, I think, that appear in it. You know, I still haven't played Undertale. You guys have to probably put it in perspective if you think that's crazy of me, that I still haven't played it. But just the fact that I'm married, working, caring for my dad, have 2 dogs, I've got the music and the voice acting, and then just running this YouTube channel and my Twitch channel and then my website, DKCgaming.com. It takes a lot of time, and just to run those kind of 3 web entities, that's like, you know, it takes about 10 or 15 different hats that I have to wear to keep them running. And so anyway, let us not get too sidetracked here. Pimples were for the eyes, painted green, drain on either side with the coloration, the black in the middle, and then dentures, of course, are going to be for the 2 jaws facing either direction. And the dentures is, of course, a great stamp to let us do that all with just 1 stamp, you know, not many stamps for the teeth or anything like that, or 2 different jaw type stamps. No, this is very good. So then eyeballs, painted green, go within the drains there on either side down there, kind of like on the face below the monitor. And tear, T-E-A-R, a tear in either direction is for the little nose holes there on that like kind of bottom face, I guess you could call it. And then these little tube piping type shapes that we're doing or whatever, these are manticore. If you take kind of the middle piece of the manticore's tail that has these 3 little prongs on it, or 3 pieces, that's what we've done. So of course, whenever I'm doing scripting or properties editor stuff right here, which is what you see on screen, since there's not a lot of action going on, I often like to read background information or fun facts about whatever we're creating. And so of course, you guys asked for him, so you probably can't be spoiled much with any of this information that I'm going to read, in that you obviously know that he exists. So anyway, Omega Flowey, first off, is shown as Photoshop Flowey in the neutral route credits, and fans have also called it God Flowey, and even the game's code lists it as Flowey X. I'll go with Omega Flowey for the purposes of this background info and fun facts nomenclature here. So he is the entity that is created when Flowey absorbs the 6 souls at the end of the neutral route, and is the final boss of that route. Many would note that the center tubes around the TV screen face of Omega Flowey kind of resemble the petals of his original flower form. There's also a sprite in the Undertale files that's called unnamed_6385 and is apparently concept art for Omega Flowey. And so yes, one thing that you guys will know, of course, is this is not the end. That's just the very first piece we've done of Omega Flowey. It's going to involve a lot of glue right here. So you can see that glue is the source object. And then we've taken this 10th page arm from the 29-page library. This is a mutant arm, so if you were to type in mutant, you could actually take that kind of similar arm piece. But we've taken the one from the 29-page library. We use it a lot. And here's the manticore again. We're going to grab those same kind of, that same tail piece. It's going to be those piping or tube shapes right here, all along, all around the glue. The good thing about the glue is that it is sort of in the shape of the little eyeballs and stuff that are on the side where we're going to put this. This, of course, is going to have the big kind of ogre-y arms coming down, you know, those arms with claws on them coming down with the plant stuff all over them. So drain, we're going to use drain once again. That's going to be, of course, painted kind of a skin color with white in the middle, that same bleach white color. And you can go with a golf ball, a BB, a ball, any of this kind of stuff, and make this like middle eye part. And then I used a BB. Once again, it's going to be the BB will be just the pupil right there, so paint it all black. And so I'm actually taking a bleach white dot once again and putting this dot actually back here behind the eye that's within this drain, because the drain does have the little lines of, I guess, the other pieces of the drain in it. And so I don't want those lines to appear all that much, but they can appear to the right, our right, of this eyeball right here. It can be like maybe some veins or something. It'll look more appropriate on that side. But then we've got Silver Sword right here. Silver Sword is sort of an interesting shape. You could actually use this for so many different things, but I'm going to use it to be sort of an amalgamation of leaves and vines and stuff that are all right here on the Photoshop Flowey's arm. And since I mentioned Omega Flowey does have these sort of ogreish arms or whatever, I'm going to use a Wendigo for the claws to be right here. We did use that 10th mutant arm from the 10th page of the 29-page library, and that's going to be for the extension out, but the Wendigo arm we can put on the end of that for the claws. And so a thorn is what we're taking right now. It almost looks like a big vine of thorns, so that's good. I definitely want that to be the case. And so now I'm just sort of fixing my layers here. It looks like the thorn and the arms, you know, they all needed to be behind everything else. So this arm that's coming down. And a shark pup, we can take the back fin and just paint it a dark green color. That's going to be for some leaves all around here, as well as those silver swords. And of course, you saw that I painted the silver swords with a pattern from the color pattern library that sort of has leaves in it. So, you know, you can experiment and play around with that if you want to go by this design. And then we'll use a leaf as well for some other kinds of shades of leaves and other designs of leaves and stuff that we can throw in here. And it's just to show you guys other stamp options. But now we're going to use a wedge and go with the tool wedge. And so, of course, there are shoes that are called wedges. And then a spike. We'll take a spike right here, and we don't need that kind of base of the spike. It looks sort of like a nail, but we just want the pointy part, and we can put it all behind the 10th page arm here. So it's behind the layers, and then the top of a thorn bug. I've always wondered, you know, how could I use this thorn bug? I've always been aware that it has this thorn on its head, and I think that this is a good kind of use for that, of course, and it shows, you know, there are different spikes and stuff all over the arm. There are actually more than this on Omega Flowey, but unfortunately we are limited by our stamp space. So hopefully most of you know, if you've seen this series before, or if you're familiar with Scribblenauts Unlimited and creating in this game, you have a limit of how many stamp pieces you can use. A stamp piece is basically anything that you put down on your main item to create it, you know, so you can almost think of it like a puzzle, and we're putting all these different pieces of a puzzle together. Well, that's what a stamp piece is just kind of one more piece of that puzzle. So an intestine, for instance, that's a stamp piece. We just pulled one out right there. That sounds like I pulled somebody's intestine out of their body. I do not mean that, of course. And so a manticore, we'll take that same 3-prong piece, but then hopefully you also notice that I took the 2-piece that comes right before that of the manticore's tail. It's sort of colored greenish, and it just has 2 little prongs on it, or pieces to it. And so then, of course, the 3-piece manticore tail part, we're just keeping it its original colors for this, but it's going to be the piping in between each of those intestines. So these intestines are supposed to actually look like these kind of like worms, I guess, that are on the back, sort of the top right and top left of Omega Flowey, and hopefully we can get this looking a little bit like that, or as close to that as possible. And so lint is actually going to be that worm sort of head. You know, there's like a big fat piece of the worm or whatever just before the head, I guess, of the worms, and or whatever they are. I mean, for God's sake. An octopus, actually, that mostly straight but slightly bent at the top tentacle of the octopus. That's what I put next to the first intestine or worm head type thing. And hopefully you notice I did color it with some color pattern library stuff. So glue was the source object there, and the reason we use glue so many times is so that we can glue it to our original Omega Flowey source object piece, you know, from before, the first one. Now hopefully you notice this top left design is actually smaller than the top right, and that could be the case for you when you're creating, because it is good to create them separately so you can have them facing either which way, but you should make them kind of very similar in their designs probably, because Photoshop Flowey is mostly symmetrical. But when you do this, you know, you saw I just went into the scripting and edited what I call top right now. It's the top right piece. I edited it and made it a little bit smaller, and so with that I threw away the original top right piece and then had to type in top right once again to get it out with the resizing done to it. So then you'll notice, of course, here with our still floating, I'll take off that adjective of still and floating, but our Omega Flowey now has the different pieces, and it actually looks like one of the arms is also bigger right here as well, so I can go in and make some edits and stuff like that, but it's just minor edits to the sizing. But there it is. I mean, it's floating and it's crazy, and we should actually show off, you know, here it is close up, but we should maybe show off how it fights. You know, you could have it shoot out so many things. I mean, Omega Flowey in the game, Photoshop Photoshop Flowey has so many attacks. And so this, I just use an X because he shoots out those X-shaped bombs, I believe. You could use it, you know, a shuriken. You could use, you could even shoot out like Venus flytraps. Doesn't he have like a Venus flytrap attack? Man-eating plant you could use for that or something. But here I'm making him face this gargantuan monster, and I think that monster is a little bit too epic and big, although our Photoshop Flowey could take it eventually. It's just going to take a long time. I didn't make his damage super high because I wanted the battle to not just be over in a second, and I wanted you guys to be able to see it. But yes, there we go. I am proud of this design. I think a lot of people actually, shame on you, I think you were underestimating me and thinking that it wouldn't be possible, or that I probably couldn't make Photoshop Flowey in this game. And I'll let you know, most things are possible in this game. You can't expect, though, a 100% exact replica in Scribblenauts Unlimited. You know, you have to play within the parameters of this game, and I'm even pushing the parameters of this game to the limits. You know, I'm using many glue pieces. This is obviously a 5-piece creation. It wasn't just 2 pieces or even 1. It took 5 different kind of objects that we created and combined them all to one. So that's cool. I think the main thing to remember, of course, is just when you're creating this, keep going back and resizing. You know, once you've made like the top left, for example, and the left arm, and then you're moving on to the right, it's not as simple as just a copy paste, you know, using the same thing. You want to create them facing the other direction. So it's a whole new creation. You're just kind of mimicking what you did before on your left side creations. And so with that, again, just kind of experiment with the sizing of it. You know, when you're first bringing it out, you may be like, oh, I made this too big, or I made it too small, or this one piece of it too big or too small. So those are good things all to remember. And I'm so glad that you guys are, you know, enthusiastic about the series. I think that this Scribblenauts creation series is still doing very well for being kind of, you know, I've been doing this for 3 years, this episode series, and we're going to be on a 4th year of doing it coming up in the fall of 2016. But just thank you again. It really means a lot to me, and I'm so glad that people are still enthusiastic, and there's always something to create, you know? There's always something new coming out, or a new episode of something, or a new character in some game, or just whatever it might be, a new movie, all that good stuff. So people ask me sometimes, you know, are you bored of doing Scribblenauts? And I will say, because of you guys, no, I am not bored at all. So thank you, and I will catch you on the next vid. And don't forget to check out my Patreon and my website. And thanks for viewing. There like a spectacle so you can be the viewer and
down the road of twists and turns.